going on, everybody? It's your boy J Main, back checking in with the people, back with another review. And of course, we talking at HBO's The Last of Us, episode 7, titled Left Behind. Now, this episode, it kind of starts off a little eerie because we see like this blood trail, and it's leading to a house, which we later find out is where Joel and Ellie are staying at this point. Now, if you remember from the last episode, Joel was stabbed and he fell off the horse. He wasn't looking too good. So somehow Ellie was able to drag this man to this house, get him in the basement where she's just trying to figure out what to do next. At this point, Joel is kind of accepted that he's probably going to bleed out here. And Ellie is like, she's not accepting that. Joel wants her to go back to Tommy, back at Jackson, and leave him to die. And eventually, she actually starts to head towards the door and leave Joel down there. And he starts to tear up because he knows that this is the end. As she's walking out the door to leave Joel down in that basement, we get a flashback. It looks like we back at where Ellie was before she even met Joel. And this is back at the military school that she was in. Now she's jogging. She's got her headphones on. It looks like it's a bunch of girls in the school and they're doing laps. And this one girl there actually bumps into her, knocks her headphones off, and she's talking smack to Ellie, and she's like, Ellie's like, she don't want to fight. She don't want to fight, but the girl's picking on her, and she realizes that Ellie doesn't have her friend with her, and her friend is usually the fighter. But Ellie is not taking, she ain't taking no shit from nobody. So Ellie actually ends up swinging off on her. And then we get a little fast forward clip where she's in the office with the teacher of the military school. And he's trying to break it down to Ellie, like, listen, you can't keep getting into these scraps, these fights with these people, because you have two choices of where your life is going to end up. On this road that you keep going down, you're going to end up as somebody that has to do patrols, work these shit jobs after the military school that you're not going to like. And you're going to end up being bossed around by somebody like the girl that you just got into a fight with. Or you could do what you're supposed to do, get put in the position like I am, where we barely have to do patrols, and we don't have to go outside the walls and do things that we don't like. And so, of course, Ellie's like, listen, I'm going to get my stuff together. I'm going to act right, because I don't want to be doing stuff that I don't want to do. She goes back to her room. They're getting ready for bed, and she's sleeping at this point. You can see in her bedroom that there's a bed that's empty, and that's obviously the friend that the girl that she got into a fight with was talking about. She hasn't been around for a while. And so a few hours go by, it's the middle of the night, and you see the shadowy figure sneaking through the window of Ellie's room, and they come in and they put their hand over Ellie's mouth. Ellie jumps up, kicks the person falls to the ground, and we find out it's Riley. If you played the Left Behind DLC, a lot of people probably didn't get to this because it was just extra side content. A lot of times people play the main game and that's kind of all they experience. So you have those few people that'll even purchase the side content, but this actual side content gave you a lot of backstory about who Ellie was before she met up with Joel in the Last of Us game. So Riley is explaining to Ellie, that she's been gone. Ellie thought she was dead. She's been gone for 3 to 4 weeks. Ellie thought she was dead. And Riley's like, no, I didn't die, but I did end up joining the Fireflies. Now, Ellie didn't believe her at first, so she ends up showing Ellie her gun and, proving to her that she did end up joining the Fireflies. Riley wants to actually take Ellie somewhere, but Ellie's arguing with her because she's like, listen, I got to be up in a few hours. She just got through talking with the, the instructor about being on the right track, and she has to get up in a few hours for military drills. Ellie ends up giving in and going with Riley to wherever Riley plans on taking her. So they sneak out of the military school. They actually end up at this abandoned apartment where they find this man who's dead. He has pills and a bottle of liquor next to him, and they just assume that he overdosed. And you can kind of agree because, like I said, he didn't have any bites on him. He didn't look like he was turning into an infected. But they do end up stealing his liquor. And I don't blame him. That looked like a fresh bottle of liquor. They young, so it's different rules apply in this world. So I don't blame them. I probably would have took it myself. They 14, 16 years old, kids was dabbling and stuff like that, as I was at that age. They're on this rooftop, kind of just talking. Riley's filling Ellie in more about why she joined the Fireflies and how that came about. And she said that this older woman actually saw her sneaking around, and liked the way she was moving around the city without being detected. She liked her so much that she wanted her to join the Fireflies. And she also asked her what she thought about Fedra, and Riley explained to the woman that she thought Fedra, they was pretty much a bunch of dicks and, control freaks, and she didn't like them. They get to exploring the rooftops and going on their way to where Riley wants to take Ellie, and they end up across from this abandoned mall. And now this mall is pitch black. It doesn't look like anybody's there. They actually mentioned that, they kind of like boarded it off and blocked it off so that nobody could go that way. But Ellie's a little bit worried because she thinks that's just like infected down there. But being that Riley's her best friend, she trusts her. Riley ends up turning on the power for the mall, and, she had Ellie kind of like walk ahead. And the position that Ellie was in, she was able to see the whole mall as the power was coming on. I thought this was a beautiful shot. Because you also have to remember that Ellie has never seen anything like this. She's a young kid that didn't get to grow up in a world that had thriving malls, that had kids shopping at the malls, parents, people going crazy just to buy clothes, shoes, electronics. So seeing something like this, like the mall as a kid, that was something we used to like take the bus to, no money, just to walk around the mall. Like we was just chilling in the mall window shopping as kids because it was just everything in there. They're walking through the mall and they see like a bunch of stores have been looted. And they're just like talking amongst themselves about people and like, why are these stores, like why are certain stores ran through and why are others not? And they get to mentioning that people felt like they had to grab and loot what was important. And and it still kind of rings true today. It so happens to be like the sneaker stores were ran through, the clothing stores were ran through, because that's like the stuff that we cherish today. Is like, the materialistic things that we can't take with us while we're gone. But when shit hits the fan, you just never know, what's next. So you want to grab as much things that you feel are valuable. For me personally, I'll probably hit the electronics store, get some TVs, some computers, some tablets, some shit like that. Like I'll probably grab stuff like that. Riley is pretty much here trying to show Ellie what she calls the 4 wonders of the world. It actually ends up being 5 because Ellie was amused by the escalator. She was going crazy for the escalator because it's like moving stairs. It was like magic to her, you know what I'm saying? So again, things that she has never seen before as a kid because she didn't get to grow up in this world. And the first stop that they end up coming across as one of Riley's wonders is the horse carousel. It's like a little ride for them. They're going around in circles, laughing it up, drinking a little bit of the liquor bottle, and just having a fun time. And of course, Ellie's blown away by this. That's something that she'd never seen before. During this time where Riley and Ellie are on this horse carousel, she explains that another reason as well is why she left and never came back. And they told her pretty much she's going to be sewage detail, which is pretty much standing guard as other people shovel shit in the sewers to keep them clean. Marlene was the one that saw Riley sneaking around town, and she combined with her job that she was gonna have, that was enough for her to just leave, run away, and pretty much never come back. They end up moving on to the second wonder that Riley wants to show Ellie, and this time it's a photo booth. And as you know, a photo booth, you put the money in and they have you strike a bunch of different poses, and it takes your picture and it prints it out at the end on like this sheet. So they do that. They taking these goofy photos, these scary face photos, just a nice little cool moment that you see with the two friends bonding. And Riley ends up giving the pictures at the end to Ellie. They move on after the photo booth to the third wonder, and it's actually Raja's arcade. Easter egg here because Raja is, I believe, a play on a character from another Naughty Dog game, which is called Uncharted. The first Uncharted, there's a character in the game called Eddie Raja. They get to this arcade and Ellie is blown away. Like video games everywhere, lights everywhere. They stumble across a Mortal Kombat 2 arcade machine. So now they're going back and forth playing a couple rounds of Mortal Kombat. And I think Ellie actually wins one round. Riley wins one round. But off in the distance, what we end up seeing is that there's an infected about a few stores down. And it's like, connected with the tendrils to the wall. But based on all the noise that they were making in the store, it actually starts to wake up. Before moving on, you actually could tell that Ellie is developing feelings for Riley, even to the point that she actually tries to go in for a kiss. but Riley actually just kind of like moves out the way onto the next one. It doesn't seem like she realized what Ellie was feeling. You can clearly see that Ellie has been developing feelings for Riley over this time, and she's trying to find a way to communicate it to her. So after cutting through the food court, Riley shows Ellie kind of where she's been staying in the mall, and she has like, it's like this kitchen area, and she has like a sleeping bag and stuff like that, and she shows Ellie the gift that she wanted to give her, and it was a no pun intended joke book. So now we see like where Ellie developed the love for these no pun intended books, is that Riley was somebody she used to go back and forth with about these jokes in the books, and this was like a volume 2, something she hadn't had. And, they were, shooting jokes off at each other. Ellie begins to wander around this area that Riley is staying at, and she finds like these pipe bombs, and she and Riley get into an argument, and they get to talking about like what the plans were for the pipe bombs, and Ellie comes to the realization that Riley is pretty much watching guard for the Fireflies, and they set up here at the mall so she can guard the stash. And Riley's like, listen, we would never like go after the people at the military school, we would never let them hurt you and stuff like that. And Ellie's just not buying it, because she knows that Riley's this low-level soldier in the Fireflies, and she really don't have no pull. It just upsets her, and she storms off. Now, Riley goes after her, and she begins to tell Ellie, like, listen, I'm leaving. Like, I'm leaving. So Ellie's like, what? Like, you leaving? What? And she's like, listen, the Fireflies want me to go to a quarantine zone in Atlanta, and that's pretty much where they want me to set up. And Ellie's like, so why did you bring me here? And Riley's telling her, like, I'm leaving. I wanted to say goodbye. And you're like my best friend, so I wanted to hang out with you before you go. And Ellie is like upset. She's pissed off. And she leaves. Like, she starts to walk out the mall and leave Riley behind, upset at the fact that Riley hasn't been truthful with her, that Riley hasn't told her the whole story on why she's there, what the plans is with the Fireflies, that she's leaving. Like, it's a lot for her to take on. And it kind of leads back to that moment that she's talking about with Sam about ending up alone. And as well as Joel, where she talks about everybody she ever loved or cared for ends up dead or leaving her. Storming out the mall. She's pretty much almost at the exit of the mall, but she stops in her tracks, and she's thinking to herself, and she ends up going back in the mall. And as she's like walking back in the mall, she starts to hear some screams. And so she's running towards the screams and thinking that it's Riley, being attacked. And it ends up being like this Halloween decoration that's screaming, and it sounds like Riley. Riley is like stationed in this Halloween store, which she reveals that this was like the last wonder that she wanted to show Ellie, something that she would love, this Halloween store. And she has like these Halloween masks and all of that other stuff. They get to talking, and Riley's explaining more to Ellie about why she feels good with the Fireflies. And Ellie's like, you don't even fully understand their cause. And Riley's like, while I may not fully understand, they're not as bad as you think they are, but they're also people that I feel I belong to. It's people that wanted me. And Riley used to have a family back before, things might have hit the fan for her. And Ellie didn't have that. So Ellie didn't come up in a structure where she had a family. And so she doesn't know what it feels like to belong to something. And so for Riley, she missed that feeling, and she didn't feel that at the military school. While she liked Ellie, overall, she didn't feel that. But she felt that with the Fireflies. She felt like she had a purpose with the Fireflies. So above all, she wanted that feeling more than anything, regardless of if their cause was something that she agreed with. They kind of make up, and they put the Halloween mask on, and they start like dancing on the countertops. And Riley's like playing music from Ellie's Walkman that she brought with her. They making all types of noise, like music blaring over the loudspeakers. They dancing, screaming, and stuff like that. And they actually end up sharing a moment. Ellie takes off the masks, and Riley's like confused, like why she took it off. And Ellie goes in for a kiss. She kisses Riley and says sorry, but Riley's like, she likes it too. She begs Riley like not to leave. Like, she doesn't want Riley to go with the Fireflies to Atlanta. And Riley actually agrees. She's like, you know what? I'm going to stay. Forget the Fireflies anyway. And all of that gets broken up by that infected that I mentioned earlier, who was chilling a few stores down. And he's like, all right, enough of that lovey-dovey shit. I'm here to cause havoc. So the infected runs in. Riley pulls out her gun, gets a couple shots off, that puts the infected down. Doesn't kill him, but it knocks him down, gives them enough time to make a run for it. So they make a run for it. Riley like tries to like throw down some shelves in the store to slow the infected down. It ends up catching up with them, knocks Riley out, knocks the gun out of her hand, knocks her unconscious. So now it's Ellie fending for her life against the infected. Ellie pulls out her knife, gets a couple stabs off on the infected that allows her to run away, but she also gets tackled by that same infected. So them stabs to the body didn't do nothing. We all know you got to take him out from the head. But this is probably her first time coming across an infected, so she doesn't really understand. So she is fighting with the infected. Riley ends up waking up, hitting it across the head with the like this blunt object. And so now Ellie's free, but now Riley's fighting against the infected. So Riley's like fighting for her life. Ellie ends up getting her knife and stabbing the infected in the head, which ultimately takes it out. Ellie's like high off adrenaline. She's like, yo, this was nuts. This was crazy. Like, she's like smiling and laughing almost at the same time, excited about what just happened, even though they almost like lost their lives. And Riley, on the other hand, has the exact opposite reaction. And she's like looking all sad, and she's looking down at Ellie. And Ellie ends up looking down, and you see that Ellie actually got bit in the melee against the infected. And so Ellie's like losing her shit. Like, she's cursing and going crazy about being bit and, just scared. And then Riley shows that she actually got bit as well in her hand. At this point in the episode, the scenes are switching back and forth between present day and this mall flashback. Now, in the mall, Riley and Ellie, they're like, talking about their options on what they're going to do next. Ellie's upset. She's breaking shit in the store. And she eventually like calms down, and Riley's like, listen, option one, we could use this gun and pretty much take ourselves out, or we could do option two. She's like, I don't really like option one, but option two, we pretty much wait it out. She talks about them not being quitters, and even if it's 2 more minutes or 2 hours or 2 days, like, they're just gonna wait it out, because that just means more time that they can spend together and more time that they're fighting for each other as far as trying to survive. Ellie kind of asks her like what option 3 was, and there is no option 3, so she kind of just apologizes for everything that has happened. Back at where Joel and Ellie were in the house in present day, you see that Ellie, she thought about like leaving Joel there, but it seems as if she thought about this moment that she was with Riley, because she decides not to give up on Joel. So she's scrambling through the house, trying to look for something that can help them, her nurse Joel back to health. And she ends up finding a needle and thread that she ultimately brings back downstairs and starts to sew Joel's wounds together. She's not planning on giving up on him, just like Riley and her decided not to give up on each other in that moment, even though they were bitten and they understood their fate. That's how the episode ends. I thought overall this was a great episode. One of my favorite episodes in the series, because it did a great job of paying respect to the source game material, as well as giving us a little bit of more backstory on what Ellie was like, before with Riley and stuff like that. They went into the mall scene where I thought they did a great job of representing the mall. I thought Bella Ramsey and Storm Reed did a fantastic job as Ellie and Riley. And I thought the acting was on point here. It wasn't a lot of action in this episode, but I wasn't expecting it because of how this breaks down in the game. You don't get too much action in this episode. It really doesn't start to hit the fan until the end of this section of the game. And while there were more infected in the game, listen, we know they cutting back on the violence, so you're not going to see as much as you might have hoped to see. But I thought the message and the feel still came across great in this episode. Going forward, it looks like Ellie has a tough task ahead. We have a great episode, I think, coming up next. One of my favorite characters in the game, we're going to get a chance to meet. And you just see more of like Ellie taking care of Joel and trying to nurse him back to health. So overall, a great episode in my opinion. Definitely one of my tops in the series. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys think about this episode. Of course, rate the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll catch y'all in my next one. Peace.